evening, everyone. This meeting of the Essex County Board of County Commissioners is hereby called to order. Due to the pandemic, this meeting is being conducted remotely. Please identify yourself by putting your name on the record each time before you speak. Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Cooper, absent. Commissioner Gill. Absent. Commissioner Graham.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Luciano.
Here.
Commissioner Mercado.
Here.
Commissioner Siebel.
Here.
Commissioner Vice President Pomares.
Here.
Commissioner President Richardson.
Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will omit the salute to the flag since we are conducting this meeting remotely. However, let us pause for a moment of silence for all of those in Ukraine in this horrifying, senseless act of war, and everyone in Essex County and around the world who have died of COVID-19. Thank you. I have before me certification from the clerk that this meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Madam Clerk, are there any transcripts to be approved?
No, Mr. President, there are none.
Madam Clerk, are there any topics of discussion?
Mr. President, may I ask that someone mute their mic? We're hearing background noises. Okay, Mr. President, yes, we have a topic of discussion. We have a update on the civilian task force by Governor James Mcgreevy. I believe that Governor Mcgreevy has joined us, Mr. President.
Okay, let's get him on and give him an opportunity to speak.
Thanks,
Governor.
Mr. President. Thank you, my friend. And thank you, all the members. I just wanted to say thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you this evening. And just to give you a brief update, we've had not only a series of robust hearings in this past time, but thanks to the leadership of Dr. Chris Purnell, we have our report, which I'm holding right here, Determinants of Health Report, Essex County Civilian Task Force Subcommittee, presented by Professor Pamela Valera, School of Public Health, Rutgers University, the great Dr. Chris Purnell, University Hospital, and Sebastian Acevedo, New Jersey Medical School. So basically, just to know is we're having this review. There's a panel, there's a medical panel of professionals under the leadership of Chris Purnell, who, if I can, has been like extraordinary. Dr. Purnell, during the height of the COVID crisis, was able to develop and improve upon tests that were performed upon detainees and inmates at Essex County Correctional Facility, working in close proximity with Dr. Anisette and also Guy Cirillo and Al Ortiz, Director Ortiz, as well as the Chief of Staff. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of the commissioners. Basically, what, God willing, you'll have in short order is you'll have this very robust report that details all of the medical issues that are of concern to those persons at the Essex County Correctional Facility. It's a relatively investigative report looking at from COVID-19 quarantine and testing to medical care and services, including medical services, structure, chronic rates, then looking at mental health, social services, and reentry. So it is our goal that you'll be getting this report by the first week of April with just a succinct listing as part of the annual report of the hearings that we've done to date, whether the public hearings as well as the meetings with any number of interest groups, ranging from the ACLU to professors to judges, both in New York and New Jersey. So I just wanted to say you should have, we wanted to issue this report earlier, but we're being somewhat painstaking in our analysis to make sure we provide you with a report that has as much clarity as possible so that you can focus on specific improvements. And again, our goal would be is that you would have this in the first week. It's done now, literally before us. We're just waiting for the feedback from various physicians, emergency doctors, infectious disease experts, behavioral healthcare experts, and it's in the final draft. And then basically it'll be submitted to, is my understanding, I'll defer to council, but it's my understanding, Mr. President, that it goes to the commissioners and to the administration, and then you make a decision as to whether or not you release it publicly or the terms by which you do that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for taking out the time in your busy schedule to come in and let us know about this report and what's going on and what's next and how we can get our hands on it. We really appreciate that.
No, and I
Commissioners,
just want to say thank you to the commissioners. But I if I can, Dr. Chris Purnell is just literally among the most amazing human beings I have ever worked with. And so if I can, I just, she's direct, she's incredibly knowledgeable, Princeton, Duke, Hopkins. I mean, she's, I tell her, she's just amazing. And so we're really blessed. And I just want to say thank you to all the commissioners for putting Dr. Purnell on this commission, because she's added such incredible value. So she's just been a real blessing. So I just want to give credit to where credit is due.
absolutely. Thanks again, Governor.
I just want to say,
Commissioners,
yeah, thank you.
Commissioners? Commissioner Sebo?
Thank you. First of all, Governor, I want to thank you so much for putting in the time and effort for the work you are doing. I've been following it so carefully, and it's unbelievable how much you have been able to accomplish because of your dedication to taking care of doing what is correct for all of these people. So thank you so much for everything that you are doing. I really admire all your work.
No, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Pat, my friend. And and I just also want to say that we've spent a lot of time at the facility, and so it's getting behind, it's spending time in the units, and being hands-on. And I think that was the vision originally, and it's worked. So thank you. And I also want to just also say thank you for your patience in the timing of the report. You ought to have received it earlier, but it's literally done. But anyway, I shouldn't say this, but Chris is a little bit of a perfectionist, much more than us lawyers. But I guess that's a doctor's prerogative. So, so you'll get it in short order.
Thanks again, Governor. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
President.
Then Commissioner Gill.
Okay. Mr. McGreevy, you know, we took it and we hired a consultant group a couple of months back to see what was going on with some of the policies and procedures that we had going there at the jail. Have you been communicating with them also?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. That's a great question. Yes, I've met with Director Ambrose both at the facility, privately, on the phone, constantly. So we're doing different things bluntly. We're looking at some of the systemic issues, like this reports on the determinants of health. We're looking at everything from, all right, when you come into Essex County, candidly, and after you go through the initial process, what diagnostic tests are performed? Do we know what your basic, your health welfare profile, what's happening? So part of what we're looking to do is to look at systemic challenges to improve the quality of healthcare at the facility. I think Director Ambrose is looking at much more, if you will, his field of expertise. in terms of procedures that are employed by corrections personnel. So we're looking at, if you will, systemic issues that impact the health and welfare of persons, of court-involved persons. But yeah, we're talking. In fact, I was on the phone with Director Ambrose. We're doing a survey, and so that will probably be done jointly, so as not to have two sets of surveys. So we participated in joint meetings, but just bluntly, Commissioner, we have, if I can, and I don't want to overstate this, I think Director Ambrose is looking at the proper and appropriate ways in which correctional facilities or manage and operated within the confines of correctional personnel. Those are our concerns, but we're also looking at areas where we can create more, if you will, robust opportunities for the health and welfare of the persons behind the wall. So it's a complementary mission. There is some overlap, and I think we've been speaking regularly with them. I should have addressed that. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, but we are talking to them.
Okay, because in the contract, it had said after 90 days, they would submit a report on how far they've gotten with it. And I want to make sure that all my colleagues and I get a copy of that report when it comes out.
Yeah, no, in fact, I mean, COVID is what COVID is, and just in terms of, unfortunately, but Director Ambrose, I know, is very much mindful of when he's working on the report, but we've had a number of conversations, and I know they're, and I know in good conscience, he's very direct, very straightforward, and very robust. And but I think it's going to be complementary. I would just think, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but our focus is, I don't want to say our focus is more on the persons behind the wall, or the court-involved persons, but we're looking at everything. Say in this report, for example, we're looking at diagnostic testing. We're looking at various illnesses. We're looking at what we can do to improve the health and welfare of the persons behind the wall. We're talking about connecting to them in services when they leave the Essex County Correctional Facility. Say, for example, on addiction treatment, on mental health, how do we have that pipeline so that when somebody has addiction treatment, how can we improve upon that? So there is a certain amount of overlap, but I think it is somewhat distinct. Thank you, Commissioner.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner President.
Commissioner Gill.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, and Governor Mcgreevy, great to see you, as
Thanks.
always. So, one thing I just want to make sure, and I appreciate everything that you have said and the work that you're doing. But, in the original work to create this task force, the word that gets left out too often in my mind is independent. This task force was created to be independent, even the way it's listed on our agenda. It's missing that word. So I know you know this, but I want to put it on the record. The genesis behind the work that you're doing is not only to tell us what we're doing well, but to have the very difficult conversations about what we're not doing well. And by the way, that doesn't mean that this in any way means that I don't say that in any way to disrespect the work that's ongoing by our county administration, the leadership that's there. But clearly, we identified a need for additional oversight, and in addition to the report, which I'm anxious to see, I'm also very anxious to see, again, the conversation around what we're going to do potentially to implicate the recommendations that I'm sure this report is going to give us. So more of just a comment than a question. Thank you again and the committee for all the work, but I want to make sure that that word independent, which you are charged to be, does not get lost in the work that you're doing. Thank you, Mr. President.
And if I can, Mr. President, to
Sure.
Commissioner Gill, I just, to Commissioner, one, I just want to say thank you to Brendan, and I appreciate the point of independence. And just in fairness is that the administration has been completely open. And like the other night, I was in the facility and like, you know, complete free reign, talking to inmates, walking around. I will just say, Dr. Purnell, you know, I was just on a phone conversation with the medical vendor and Dr. Purnell. Brendan, it was like looking at a prosecutor. And so, you know, part because Chris is so not only thoughtful, but knowledgeable about staffing ratios, about protocols, about logistics. So my sense is the people that are there and the people that are engaged are there because they want to see this to be robust. And bluntly, we want to see this to be, if you will, the best and finest facility in the state. And so, and I would also say, in full disclosure, there's been no effort to encumber our access or reach in terms of, I've had meetings with tier representatives, both on the state, on the county side, on the state side, as well as on the federal side. So, and unfettered, as well as some of the medical issues. I mean, just candidly, I mean, some of the staffing issues, you'll see that in the greater discussion, but I'll leave that to the report. But thank you.
I thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick follow-up.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. President. So no, I appreciate that, and that's glad to hear. And at least in my own personal opinion, you know, the systemic impact that this type of work can have is where I think the real, you know, value. Of course, we want to deal with the immediate and make sure that this committee or this task force which it has set up mechanisms for independent individual issues that have risen, but ultimately I think its mark will be made in helping us reach the goal that you just outlined, which is to have the best facility in the state and to affect systemic change, you know, along the way. So we're on the same page, and I truly appreciate that, and thank you again for the work that you and Dr. Purnell and everyone is doing on our behalf.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Thanks, Commissioner Gill. Commissioners, any other questions or comments? Mr. Polavecchio?
No, Mr. President, thank you.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions, Mr. President. Sorry about that.
Thanks again, Governor, and thank Dr. Purnell for us.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. President. Thanks.
All
Thank
right.
you, everybody. Thanks for your time.
Have a great evening.
God bless. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let's move to the public comment session. Today's meeting is a combined conference board meeting, and we will vote on every item on the agenda. However, since we are meeting remotely, the public had an opportunity to submit questions and comments for consideration and can also call in. At this portion of the meeting, the clerk will have additional instructions for our callers. Madam Clerk.
Mr. President, the constituents were given the opportunity to call in or send emails for public comment prior to the meeting. And though for those who are calling in, you will be acknowledged to speak in the order that your call was received. Emails received for public comment will be read after the calls are completed. At this time, our public information officer will announce the callers so they can state their comment or question. And be reminded, you will have 3 minutes to speak. Please do not have your laptop on or any electronic device on while calling in. At this time, we're accepting calls only pertaining to agenda items. Please note, you will have another opportunity to call back later in the meeting at the designated time for the second public comment session on non-agenda items. Chalo Malumba, our public information officer, please begin our public comment session now.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chalo Malumba, Public Information Officer for the Essex County Commissioners. We do not have any callers waiting to speak at this time.
Thank you. Mr. President, we also have not received any emails or written correspondence for public comment on agenda items at this time.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. And in that case, we'll move to ordinance and resolutions for introduction and first reading. Do we have any?
Mr. President, we have none.
I
Okay,
was
Madam
ready to
Clerk, do
pinch
we have any?
hit, Mr. President.
Excuse me?
I said I was ready to pinch hit in case her mic
Oh,
went down.
You'll be a DH, okay. Do we have any ordinance and resolutions for listing purposes only?
Yes, Mr. President, we have two. And they are ordinance number, we have three, Mr. President. They're ordinance number 02022-00004. Resolutions R dash 2022-000248 and R dash 2022-00249 for public hearing at our April 6th meeting.
Mr. President, you're muted, sir.
Thank you for pitching in, Michael. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions on second reading and public hearing tonight?
Mr. President, there are none.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we will now move to resolution number 1, which is from the Office of Management and Budget, and it will be read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. Mr. Mohammed will handle this item.
Good evening, Hussam Mohammed, County Treasurer. This resolution is for transfer of reserve transfers for 2021 appropriation. We are allowed by the law to transfer funds for last year's budget in the first 3 months of the year, and this resolution to transfer fund to make sure all our county departments meet their obligation. And I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Polavecchio.
Yeah, Mr. President. Mr. Mohammed, just to be clear, so these are transfers from last year's budget into this year's budget, not any additional new money, correct?
No, this is for Hussam Mohammed, the County Treasurer. This is for 2021 appropriation. We're not transferring money to 2022. It's only for 2021. If any invoices or any services happen rendered in 2021, we paid from the 2021 budget.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions. That was-
Commissioners, any questions or comments? Hearing none, I have a motion from Commissioner Sebo and a second from Commissioner Vice President Pomares. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Cooper, absent. Commissioner Gill.
Yes.
Commissioner Graham.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano.
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado.
Yes.
Commissioner Sebo.
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Pomares.
Yes.
Commissioner President Richardson.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move to resolutions 2 and 3, which are from the Division of a Hospital Center, and we'll read them into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, these are resolutions that the board has seen in the past. There are twin agreements, both 2-year renewals with one with Caldwell University and one with Felician University to provide students for clinical experience in our hospital. This is a mutually beneficial relationship at no cost to the county, and each of the universities covers the cost and also the insurance.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Polavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney. Mr. McInerney?
Sorry, I was
You're
on mute.
muted.
Yes, sorry about that. No questions, Mr. President.
Commissioners, questions or comments? Hearing none, I have a motion from Commissioner Mercado and a second from Commissioner Luciano to take resolutions 2 and 3 as one. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Siebel,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper absent, Commissioner Vice President Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner President Richardson.
Yes.
So moved.
Madam Clerk, let's move to resolution number 4, which is from the Division of Senior Services, and it will be read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Mr. Vieira will handle this item.
Good evening, Commissioners. Michael Vieira, the Director of Special Transportation Services for the Division of Senior Services. This resolution is for the purchase of 10 smaller vehicles for the Essex County Community Transportation Program from Aurora Bus Sales, who was the lowest responsible bidder. What's most important about these vehicles are they're a little bit smaller than the ones that we have currently in our fleet. There is a national shortage of CDL drivers throughout the country. The way these vehicles were spec'd is they do not need CDL drivers. A regular driver's license can drive these vehicles, which we're in desperate need of. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Polavecchio.
A quick question for Mr. Vieira. Michael, who operates these vehicles? Since we don't
They're
need
purchased.
licenses.
Yeah, they're purchased by the county, and they are given through a contract to our third-party contractor, Transdev. That's how it's always been.
Right, that's
So
what I
it's their
thought.
drivers, and they actually insure the vehicles too.
Okay, we just do the purchase and then they operate.
Insure and maintain, yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Mr. McInerney.
I don't have any questions, Mr. President.
Commissioners, questions or comments? Hearing none, I have a motion from Commissioner Johnson and a second from Commissioner Graham. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Cooper absent, Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Siebel,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner President Richardson.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move to resolution number 5, which is from the Division of Family Assistance and Benefits. It will be read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Coltrane.
Julius Coltrane, Deputy County Administrator, Mr. President. This is a 3-month extension for Hudson Community Enterprises, who supplies security at 321 University Avenue, not to exceed $279,180. The 3-month extension is needed because we did go out for bid. The bids were all over budget, and the current contract expires at the end of the month. So we're going back out for bid also, so we need an additional 3 months to get a new vendor.
Thank you. Mr. Polavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
Yeah, why, these were all over budget? When you say they were over budget, over what you expected the amounts to be, or what you budgeted for within the operating budget?
Yes, what that department over budgeted for.
Was it over a significant amount?
Yes, it was.
And so is there any belief that you'll talk to second time around, or?
When I spoke this morning to the director, she believes she's really tightening up on the specifications, and the future bid will come in a little tighter.
Okay, so you're gonna change the specs in order to?
We're going to tighten them up. She's going to tighten them up, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioners, questions or comments? Hearing none, I have a motion from Commissioner Gill and a second from Commissioner Graham. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Siebel,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper, absent Commissioner Vice President Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner President Richardson.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let's move to resolutions 6 through 9, which are from the Department of Public Works, and they will be read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Antonio will handle these.
Good evening, David Antonio, Department of Public Works. Item number 6 is a contract award to Colonelli Brothers in the amount not to exceed $537,218 to perform the replacement of the Lakeside Avenue culvert over the Wigan Brook in West Orange. This contract will not exceed 240 days and will be funded with grant money. Colonelli's bid was the lowest of the two received. Matt Gortner is on the phone to discuss Colonelli Brothers' past work with the county, as well as touch on the proposed scope of work and any questions the board may have. Matt, if you're on the phone.
Yes, this is Matt Gordner from Colonelli Brothers. I'm the project manager on the project. Colonelli Brothers has worked for Essex County in the past. We have about 36 years of experience in this type of civil construction work. This particular type of culvert is fairly simple. We are fully capable of completing this project within the window of time given in the contract and with the current lead times of material that's required to do so.
Excuse me, Colonelli Brothers.
Yes.
You guys are union shop?
We do. We employ laborers local 472, operators local 825, and carpenters local 253. Approximately 40 to 50% of our workforce actually lives in Essex County, including myself.
Excellent.
Mr. President,
Commissioner Siebel.
thank you. I have a question. Is West Orange aware that this is going to take place?
I would assume that they are aware, but I cannot say for sure.
Through you, Mr. President, David Antonio, Department of Public Works. West Orange has been made aware. We have worked closely with their Department of Engineering.
They don't
You're
have to
aware
pass
of
a
this.
resolution? David, they don't have to pass a resolution accepting it?
The resolution, if there's one required, I can follow up on that, but right now they're aware that there will be the replacement of the structure on Lakeside Avenue.
But they are aware of it.
Yes, ma'am, they are.
Thank you.
Please continue.
David Antonio, Department of Public Works. Item number 7 is a contract award to National Water Maintaining Company in the amount not to exceed $475,000 to perform drainage system cleaning along county roadways. This contract will be for 2 years, and National Water Maintaining submitted bid was the lowest of the two received. Item number 8 is another contract award to FM Generator Incorporated in the amount of $142,950 to perform maintenance, inspection, and testing of 13 emergency electrical generators located at various locations throughout the county. FM Generator Incorporated submitted bid was also the lowest of the two received, and this contract will run for 2 years. Item number 9 authorizes the acceptance of loan funds through the New Jersey Infrastructure Bank in the amount of $5,172,537 to undertake emergency priority repairs to the Bridge Street Bridge, Clay Street Bridge, and Jackson Street Bridge over the Passaic River in the city of Newark. This very low interest rate loan will allow for the undertaking of repairs to these bridges that will ensure that the opening and closing mechanisms are fully operational. This portion of the Passaic River that runs through Newark is considered a navigational waterway by the U.S. Coast Guard, and these bridges must always open to waterway traffic or are subject to federal fines and penalties. Hence, the proper maintenance of these bridges is of high importance. If there are any questions at this point, I will take them.
Mr. President,
Mr. McInerney.
Go ahead, Mr. McInerney.
the funding source on this again is a low interest rate loan from who again? The state?
Through you, Mr. President, David Antonio, Department of Public Works. This would be coming to the New Jersey Infrastructure Bank.
Okay, and this is a loan undertaken by the county itself.
Correct.
And will be funded by capital out of the operating budget, I assume?
Yeah.
This is not grant funding in any way.
It's not grant funding. It's a loan. It has to be repaid. However, one of the interesting things about this loan is that if next year, hypothetically, or next month, hypothetically, if we do receive grant funding, that grant funding can be used to offset the loan.
So when you say grant fund, we talk about DOT monies that?
Correct.
Okay, so we can allocate portions of
That is
next
true.
year's if we wanted to pay this down.
That is correct. We have the flexibility to use the best approach financially for the county.
Is this all in one loan at a low interest rate, or is it split between non-interest and interest-bearing loans?
That's right. It's all one loan.
Okay.
And I believe the rate is less than 0.5%.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McInerney. Mr. Polavecchio.
Yeah, Mr. Antonio, again, on number 9, these 3 bridges are jointly owned between the 2 counties, I believe. This loan only covers the Essex portion. Are we involved in procuring a loan for Hudson as well?
Through you, Mr. President, that is correct. Hudson County is the joint owner of the structures, and half of the cost is put up by them. So any loan that's been discussed is only to cover our cost, Essex County's cost.
And will they, I know we go through this every year or every 2 years. Are they managing this particular project for this cycle? They mean Hudson County, or is Essex?
Right now, it's us. It's to the county, Essex County.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Polavecchio. Commissioners, any
Mr.
questions or
President,
comments?
I have a question.
Commissioner Siebel.
President. Yes. I was informed today that East Newark is going to have a park right by the bridge. Are we involved with financing any of that park because it's right by the bridge? Or is that separate?
Through you, Mr. President, the funding will be used to undertake repairs to the bridge itself. They have nothing to do with any proposed parks on the Hudson County side of the river.
Thank you very much.
Commissioners, any
And I'm
other
told
questions
that
or
it's-
comments?
And I'm told that they're really, really desperately in need of some structure change for the bridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners, any other comments or question? Hearing that, I have a motion from Commissioner Mercado and a second from Commissioner Gill to take resolutions 6 through 9 as one. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Cooper, absent. Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Sebo,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner President Richardson.
Yes,
So moved.
thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move to resolution number 10, which is from the Department of Parks. It will be read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. Mr. Zates will handle this item.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 10 is an amendment to one sub-grant agreement for the 2020 Open Space Local Aid Program. Specifically, this is for Nutley at their request. They requested that their $150,000 grant award, which is originally awarded for a band shelter, they requested that the scope be changed to include fencing and scoreboard improvements. And we took this item to the Recreation Open Space Advisory Board, who approved it. And now we are asking the commissioners to approve the change of scope.
Thank you. Mr. Portavecchio,
I don't have any questions.
Mr. McInerney,
No questions, Mr. President.
Mr.
Commissioners,
President,
questions or comments?
Mr.
Commissioner
President,
Sebo.
on February 24th, we had an open space trust fund advisory board meeting, and this was discussed in full, and everyone was in agreement with the sub-grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, any questions or comments? I have one. Last time you were with us, I asked you about the possibility of the picture of the commissioners going up on some of these billboards and those types of get back to me. Do you have that answer?
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. I did bring that to the attention of both the Parks Director and the Deputy Director, and they said they will reach out to the vendor who designs the billboards and certainly get that done for you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Sebo and a second from Commissioner Graham. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Sebo,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill, Commissioner Cooper, absent. Commissioner Vice President Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner President Richardson.
Yes,
So moved.
thank you, Madam Clerk. Please be reminded, we will conduct a public comment session for the non-agenda items at the end of the meeting. For any other call-ins. Clerk, can you please give the call-in information?
If you're calling in, the number is 855-756-7520 and use the password 79262#. After entering the password, listen for the prompt to press 0 and you will be placed in the queue to speak in order during the meeting. Mr. President, may I ask that we need you to mute your mic if you're not speaking, your background noise and conversation is coming through.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll now move to resolution number 11, which is from the Department of Corrections, and it will be read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jack.
Mr. President, Director Ortiz and his team will handle this item.
Good evening. Alfaro Ortiz, Director, Essex County Correctional Facility, resolution number 11, Department of Corrections contract award to Global Tel-Link Corporation to provide a concession for the detention inmates tablet service, 5-year contract from date of award, no cost to the county. This is what we call like an iPad-like type of an apparatus that inmates and that are given for the purposes of communicating grievances, sick calls, commissary, and ancillary other entertainment items for them, music and whatever have you. With me, I also have my staff, Warden Guy Cirillo, Associate Warden Antonio Pires, Assistant Warden Tony Brown, and Business Director Orlando Camacho, and we'll be happy to answer any question you may have.
Mr. Paul Vecchio.
I don't have a question.
Mr. McInerney.
I'm just curious, does every inmate?
That is correct.
I mean, it must be a very effective way of occupying time as well as expediting orders and things of that nature. Yes, also. It just sounds like a great idea. That's all.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that question.
I just said it sounds like a way of expediting a lot of the functions that have to take place between the inmates and the correctional facility. It sounds like a really good idea. So
Yeah, it works for and against. For example, they can contact their family, text, and whatever have you, but it has this issue sometimes when they can communicate with their families, and all of a sudden they present themselves to the jail, and it happens in real time. Like if I were to text you right now, and somebody else doesn't know, but it all works in the end because it's an open communication for staff, inmates, and all the services that we provide.
thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, questions or comments? Hearing none, I have a motion from Commissioner Johnson and a second from Commissioner Luciano. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Siebel,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham, Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper absent, Commissioner Vice President Pomares,
Yes.
and Commissioner President Richardson.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Now move to
Thank you.
resolution number 12, which is from the Superintendent of Election, Commissioner of Registration, and will be read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Coltrane.
Julius Coltrane, Deputy County Administrator. This is a 12-month extension to Rifkin for 700 orange bags that are used for transportation of various election materials for the Board of Elections. And the amount is not to exceed $156,261. Last year, it was $105,000.
Ms. Malavecchia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Coltry, are these new bags, or do we rent the bags and the parts? How does this work?
They are the regular orange bags that we have. It's a contract with this particular company for that period of time, for the 12-month period.
Mr. McInerney.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, questions or comments? Hearing none, I have a motion from Commissioner Mercado and a second from Vice President Pomares. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Sebo,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper, absent Commissioner Vice President Pomares,
Yes.
Commissioner President Richardson.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move to resolutions 13 through 15, which are from the Office of Purchasing, and then into the record at a later time. Mr. Jack.
Mr. Coltry.
Mr. President, Julius Coltry, Deputy County Administrator. Number 13 is a revenue generating resolution. We'll receive for 2 years $25,050 for ATM services that are throughout the county, throughout the golf courses. They're at the zoo. They're in our building here. They'll be putting one in the new around the new cafeteria for convenience for people who come in and out of the building and our employees. Like I said, it's a revenue generating for $25,050, $12,025 per year. Number 14 is a contract, a change order, couldn't think of the word, for $4,000 for silk screening and embroidering for various departments that they use for logos, etc. The original contract was for $270,000. The new contract will be for $324,000. It's 20% change order. And number 15 is approval of vendor change name. The vendor original name was Proven Linen. It's now changed to Laundry Services at Essex County Center. It's a clean tech service. It's just a change name from the original contract because the company was purchased.
Thank you. Mr. Malavecchia.
Thank you. Mr. Coltry, on number 14, the change order, what's the reason for that change?
The reason is various departments and other agencies utilize this for T-shirts, embroidery T-shirts, logos, as I am wearing currently.
Does it just expand to more agencies, more departments?
Yes, it's throughout the county.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Hearing none, I have a motion from Commissioner Luciano and a second from Commissioner Johnson. No. I'm sorry. From Commissioner Sebo and from Commissioner Mercado to take resolutions 13 through 15 as one. Roll call, Madam Clerk. I jumped ahead, sorry.
Commissioner Cooper, absent. Commissioner Gill.
Yes.
Commissioner Graham.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano.
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado.
Yes.
Commissioner Sebo.
Yes.
Commissioner Vice President Pomares.
Yes.
Commissioner President Richardson.
Yes,
So moved.
thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move to resolution 16, which is from the Office of the Sheriff, and it'll be read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. Mr. Coltrane.
Julius Coulter, Deputy County Administrator. This is a $15,000 change order, which makes the new contract $90,000 with U.S. Corrections LLC. And they provide transportation, extradition throughout the country for the Sheriff's Department.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Okay. Commissioners, questions or comments? Hearing none, I have a motion from Commissioner Luciano and a second from Commissioner Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Sebo.
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado.
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Graham.
Yes.
Commissioner Gill.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper, absent. Commissioner Vice President Pomares.
Yes.
Commissioner President Richardson.
Yes,
So moved.
thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move to resolution 17 through 29, which are all accommodations and memoriams and proclamation resolutions, and they will be read into the record at a later time. Commissioners, questions or comments? Hearing none, I have a motion from Commissioner Graham and a second from Commissioner Gill. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Sebo.
Yes.
Commissioner Mercado.
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano. Commissioner Luciano.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Graham.
Yes.
Commissioner Gill.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper, absent. Commissioner Vice President Pomares.
Yes.
Commissioner President Richardson.
Yes,
So moved.
okay, Madam Clerk, let's move to report of board committees. Commissioners, do we have any reports of board committees?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Graham.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Mr. President. On March the 15th, the Work First New Jersey Review Committee held our first meeting of the year. During the meeting, we discussed the impact of the COVID pandemic upon the Work First New Jersey program and specific measures that the Division of Family Assistance and Benefits, known as DFAB, and the Division of Training and Employment took to keep various services running for the residents that were in need. As chair of the meeting, I would like to thank Commissioner Mercado and Commissioner Cooper for attending and providing their input about the New Jersey Work First program. I also would like to thank the County Administrator, Mr. Robert Jackson, Director of Citizen Services, Anibal Ramos, DFAB Director, Valentina Richardson Green, and the Division of Training and Employment, Director Julius Mufford, for attending and providing a thorough information on the safety measures their prospective departments implemented during the pandemic while continuing to serve the residents of Essex County. We also discussed upcoming programs such as the Summer Youth Employment Initiative, which will be beneficial to interested Essex County residents ages 16 to 24. We're looking to provide the public with information about this program sometime in early April. Our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for early to mid-September of 2022. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Graham. Clerk, do we have any legislative reports?
We have none, Mr. President.
Are there any written communication? Any unfinished
We have
business?
none.
Any new business? Okay, Madam Clerk, let's move to the public comment session on non-agenda items. However, since we are meeting remotely, the public had an opportunity to submit questions and comments for consideration. They also had the opportunity to call in. Madam Clerk.
You will be acknowledged to speak in the order that your call was received. Emails received for public comment will be read after calls are completed. At this time, our public information officer will announce the callers so they can state their comment or question, and be reminded you have 3 minutes to speak, and please do not have your laptop or any electronic devices on while calling in. So at this time, again, we're accepting only calls pertaining to non-agenda items. Chalo Malumba, our public information officer, you can begin our public comment session now.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chalo Malumba, Public Information Officer for the Board of Commissioners. We do not have any callers waiting to speak at this time.
Thank you. And Mr. President, we also did not receive any emails or written correspondence for public comment.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. In that case, I need a motion to adjourn.
Move
Don't
it.
all chime in at once.
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Graham and second by Vice President Morris. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think the ayes have it, Madam Clerk. Take care, everyone. Be safe out there.
All right.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone.
Have a great